ARPA meeting.
All right, everybody, it's 1:04. I'd like to call the Legislative and Governmental Affairs Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Member Chaplin?
Here.
Member Dessart?
Here.
Member LaPlante?
Here.
Member Renahan? Here. Member Selman? Here. Member Zay?
Here, that's just somewhere.
And I would like to welcome our new secretary, Adele. Thank you so much for being part of our little group here. Thank you. And I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, September 14th. Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Member Dessart? Would you prefer a voice vote or a roll call?
Voice vote, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment? No, no, okay. Just by way of chairman's remarks, I said everything I wanted to say in during the county board meeting today. We do have some new information about, this is just fresh out the presses, this stuff about the puppy mills. We welcome Chip Hume. Thank you for being with us. Chip, can you talk to us about the opposition to 1711? First of all, I thought it was a done deal. The governor signed it and everything. And now, just this morning, it may not be.
Sure, Madam Chair and members of the committee, thanks for the opportunity to be with you today. With your indulgence, I just have a couple updates, and I'll hit on the puppy mill bill second, if that's okay. But I just wanted to welcome Dave Sullivan to be with us today. Dave and Mark Poulos are the other 2/3 of our team here down in Springfield. It's a pleasure to work with them, and I just want to thank him. I know it's kind of a feverish time for being on today. I'm going to go through that specifically, but another kind of a global view of things we're watching here in Veto Session. We are in the second week of Veto Session. It was 6 scheduled session days. For anyone who kind of was paying attention, they noticed that last week, not a lot, if really anything, happened. It was a very, very slow week, which will lead to a crescendo, which everyone is expecting quite the feverish 3 days here. Of note, I don't believe the General Assembly is taking up any gubernatorial vetoes this week in Veto Session. So what we are essentially facing is basically a truncated regular session within 3 days. So some of the highlights, if you will, are the congressional maps. Congressional maps, I think, were taken up in committee this morning. The intention is to move them. I know most of you probably followed that there was a first iteration of the congressional maps, followed by a kind of cleaned up version that looked markedly different than the first. I believe that is that's the version that's going to move through the General Assembly this week. Second on my list, but Madam Chair was first on yours, is the shocking effort to repeal House Bill 1711, commonly known as the puppy mill ban. We have been aware over the course of the last month or so, maybe 2 months. I mean, this bill has only been enacted in law for probably 5 months or 4 months, of an effort spearheaded by Petland to air quotes fix what they think was wrong with the puppy mill bill. We believe, obviously, that's kind of a ruse to just water it down. So there's an effort led by Representative Will Davis, I'm sure doing the work of Petland and some of those folks here in the House to water down. I believe you're in receipt of that language. So now there's a feverish push from our side, working hand in hand with Mark Ayers and the good folks at the Humane Society to whip votes against that bill. That effort is being successful. And I'm suspicious that if he does not have a solid roll call, they will not probably let him call that bill on the floor. That being said, he is the vice chair of executive, and Will's a very powerful legislator. So I would not be surprised to see the bill come out of the House Executive Committee. But I know there's a lot of opposition, and that's mounting. So it's a full court press from Dave and I's side here to whip votes, and pretty much everyone we've talked to so far has been with us. So we're going to continue that effort throughout the course of this week, and obviously this is something that's not going away. So we're going to be obviously very, very keeping a keen eye to it in the spring, because I just don't think these groups are going to give up. So this is something, we're going to constantly have to beat back. A little disappointing with all the work we did last year that, this is enacted and signed into law, and you would think we could just move forward, but that's not how this other side is going to be doing it. So it's just going to be something we're going to have to live with, I think, and keep very, very diligent on. And, I think, Dave and I and Mark are prepared to do that.
Thank you, Chip, and thank you, Dave, for being here too. Either one of you can answer this one. You said that 1711 was top of my list. Another thing we're just learning this morning, although some of us heard whispers about it last week, but as rumors, but the omnibus bill. Cheryl and I have been talking about the 800 precincts to 16 precincts, but just this morning we're finding out there might be more in the omnibus bill. For example, this county board just approved our redistricting maps today at county board. And now we've learned some new information. Go ahead with what you know.
Yeah, so the latest to our knowledge on this omnibus package is it includes at least 3 things that I'm aware of. And no one has seen the language yet. It has not been filed as of yet. And matter of fact, some of the advocates have not seen the language yet either. So a couple things that we believe are going to be contained in this bill. Number one is an effort from the Illinois Clerks Association, supported wholeheartedly by our clerk, to raise the size or increase the size of precincts from 600 registered voters upward. Now, I believe that is going to look at the 1,200 mark for the bulk of the state. And I believe that you're going to see 1,800 voters per precinct in Cook County. That was the last I heard. But again, I've not seen that in writing. I also believe that that bill will include the ability for the Forest Preserve in DuPage to craft their own map. That is a rumor. I have not been able to substantiate it. I know people have seen earlier drafts, but nothing has been filed yet. And then the third portion to that I'm aware of is the effort to create judicial subcircuits in counties with either between 125 or 150,000 people. I've heard both numbers. But those are the 3 things that we're looking out for when we see this language that we've heard floating around are going to be included.
Yeah, I talked to the clerk a couple of times about the precinct size, and she is very much in favor of that. I hope this committee is very much in favor of that because it will save us money. And I'm always about saving us money. I'm fiscally conservative, and I think this would be great news in savings. Any comments from the group?
Yeah, I mean, on the precincts, I mean, we just did this like 7, 8 years ago. We went down to the 600, to the 800. Now we're going back up. I don't care either way. Let's just get it. I understand what it will do, but I mean, again, we just did it. It seems like we're now undoing what we did a few years ago, but if that's what they want, I mean, it's just, I don't want to walk in any houses.
Remember the plant?
Yes, do you know who is sponsoring that bill for the Forest Preserve maps and the iterations that you've seen?
I don't as of yet. There's a couple shell bills out there that are kind of rumored to have this language be tacked onto it, but I don't know who's going to run it because it's going to be a larger package. So it's certainly not DuPage specific, this bill. So we're kind of waiting to see who files it on what shell bill at this point. I would imagine somebody in leadership, but up until this point, we don't know.
There's a good chance that House Majority Leader Greg Harris will. He sponsors a lot of election laws, but as Chip said, we don't.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Okay, Chip, let me ask you real quick, slide in here and say that regarding this whole omnibus package, I have heard it's like a 40-60% chance of passing, like 40% it will not pass. Is that?
These things are difficult to handicap. I have not heard that. I would imagine the odds are probably better than that, but in veto session, when time is against the wall, things seem to get done. I know that I was with the speaker on Friday. He has full intention of moving this bill during veto session. But it bears noting that it does not take a whole lot in veto session to derail things. So I hate to handicap it, but if I was going to, I would say the chances are probably a little better than that. But, there's a lot of unknown at this point. As much as there's not a lot of time left, there is unfortunately quite a bit of time left. So things can change. So I hasten to put a number on it.
You don't have a crystal ball? Member LaPlante, I'm sorry, were you done with your questions and
I
comments?
was not, but thank you so much. So In terms of, I understand that you don't know who the sponsor is yet. When will that be revealed? Or how will we know who's pushing that through?
So I would think that would come to light here at some point today or tomorrow morning, Dave, unless you disagree with me. I think just from a timing perspective, that would come to light pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you so much.
Member Selman.
Just another follow-up on the forest preserve. I know you don't have specific language. Are you hearing that it would be one of those, like, if your county is more than 1 million and less than 3 million, that's just for us? Or is this a change for the whole state to allow them to draw their own maps?
That's a great question. I unfortunately don't have the answer to, but I know that, it would probably not be DuPage specific to avoid, single subject legislation issues with constitutionality. So I'm sure it would be worded in a certain way, but I've been so focused on the DuPage portion of it. I have not heard, I would imagine it's forest reserves that are not, obviously the same as their county boards, but I don't know that for a fact. That's a great question.
What I've
We're
heard,
the only
Chip,
one.
that yeah, we are the only
We're
ones.
the only one, yeah.
Because other
Oh, well,
forest preserves are tied to their county boards. Like if you were on a board, if a board member of Will County, you're also on the forest preserve. And I believe DuPage is the only one not.
I think we're the only one.
Because we were.
I didn't want it, but that's.
Okay.
I'm the last one to be-
So what I
last one.
don't know if we have consensus on that position, but I am very opposed to laws where we continually write our own laws for DuPage County. I think that's not appropriate. We do it for Cook County and then we do it for us usually in the opposite, which is why the forest preserve is the way it is. But I'd like to get ISACO involved. I think that this bill would limit county power in a way that is inappropriate.
Portion of the omnibus
The
bill.
forest preserve that we're talking about.
Okay.
I think ISACO should come out very strongly against that because it takes away part of our constitutional rights as a county government. I think that's something we have to fight against pretty significantly.
Do we have consensus on that? It's impossible to have consensus on. We have no written document.
Right.
We haven't even seen it, so I would want to see it
We don't know
before I
who's
made it.
sponsoring
We don't know
it.
who's
I mean,
sponsoring, we
it's
don't
just
know anything,
conjecture.
right. And it is,
If I could
it
just,
is, yeah.
time's of the essence, right? He's saying they're going to work on this over the next week. We're going to find out who the people are. I think if we
Yeah,
are
we-
quiet and let it go, I don't want Greg Harris introducing this and them thinking DuPage County thinks that's a good idea. Because I think if you asked our board, it's our job and they knew that and they should have come to the meeting.
It's October 28th.
Yep, Thursday.
October 20th, Thursday, so we've got 2
2
days.
days.
So we should have it like a just in case, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
I
not
just
gonna
think it
make a decision on
confusing
something I don't
voters.
have, I'm
I'm
not
not
gonna
gonna
meeting.
sign on to something I've never.
Yeah, I've
seen.
never, I'm not gonna sign on to something, I don't know what the legislation is, I don't know what it looks like. Don't
Should
know
we have
who's
a special
sponsoring it,
call
I'm
in
not
2 days
gonna.
so we can do it?
I agree with member Zay, it confuses voters to have two
course it
different
does.
maps. So what is the consensus of this committee? Would you like to have a special call tomorrow and have Cheryl get us the language
We
and send
can't,
it out
we need
tonight?
48 hours.
Oh,
So
48 hours.
Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon. This is such a large assault to our rights and I
We
think
do 48, but our rules say
our
72.
colleagues.
Technically, there's no repercussions.
Well, can we get consensus and then
I mean, our rules say
the
72.
chairman could draft something? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The rules say 72, only requires 48. The board members can.
The
decide
rules
not
of
to
the
follow.
committee agree we would
Chip,
do
could
48
you
when
please
that
try to
vote.
get us the language I'd also like to see the language on the 1711 and the language on this omnibus bill. Can you get it maybe this afternoon still and get it?
That's the animal.
Yeah, I will send them over to Cheryl the minute they're filed.
Do you think you could reach out to the president of the forest preserve?
I have spoken with him.
And what did he say?
Obviously, he's in favor of it.
No, right, but what, can you elaborate, like, what is his reason? What is the impetus behind this?
Kim says a double, no.
He's in
Yeah,
favor
yeah.
of having their own districts.
And who, okay.
I mean, you can certainly reach out to Dan yourself. Give him a call this afternoon. Cheryl, so Chip is gonna email you the,
I've got the animal language. I'll be glad to send out that waters down the puppy mill bill. The
The
problem
other
with the election language is we're gonna get it, it's gonna be an hour posting. So that's why we have a provision that when we get an hour posting, I call Dawn and I call Sherman Cronin. And if there's a split decision, then I call the two of them and then I can call Chip. That's why we have that provision, because a lot of times we don't have 48 hours to post a meeting.
Right.
Because most of this language will drop with an hour. That's why they pass all those show
Yeah.
bills out.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
do we have an option that the chairman and the chairman of the committee can push a slip, right?
Yeah.
So if we find out, we won't have to have a meeting, but you
Yeah,
can,
they can push a slip,
we could
sure.
call this and say, here's what it is. We could put a slip in.
And in the
say,
past,
we're
the chair of
against
legislative would call a couple of members
I'll do
and then
that.
kind of make a poll, like, what do you want to do?
Yeah,
And
that
then
would
we
be
can kind of have
great.
Yeah,
some
that's a
backup.
great idea.
That's what we used to do.
So I have to
absolutely,
get
that's
that
great.
language of the omnibus bill, particularly the DuPage.
Phone trees on.
map thing,
Well,
and send it out to all of us by email, and then I will,
I mean, they
And then
can't
you call,
lobby
you
in an
know.
hour. That's the hard
Right.
part. I mean,
Well,
that's
Well,
the
we already
difficulty.
lobbied.
but
is the
until we
problem.
see, you know, I mean, I'm not one to vote on, you know, if I don't have I mean, I think it's irresponsible to vote on something we don't have any
I
information on.
understand. Yeah, I agree.
So,
we have do we get more explanation about the sub-circuits? Because that seems to be
yeah, that's
an
another.
expensive, another thing that's gonna cost us.
Chip, you had maybe a little that was the sub-circuits. Have you heard if it doesn't trigger till a circuit judge resigns?
So the two things I've heard floating around are, number one, there'll be 7 judicial sub-circuits created in DuPage in this omnibus bill. And then I'm of the belief, with some follow-up questioning, that those sub-circuits are not triggered until a circuit needs to be replaced. So retires or whatever would happen. So also of a belief this would not come into effect until the 2024 election at earliest. But again, we have not seen that actually formally in writing, but that's my understanding of the process of how you transition from a circuit to a sub-circuit.
And Chip, I understand that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that this judicial sub-circuit is only for counties with a population over 500,000, so that would affect DuPage County.
No, I've actually heard the two numbers that I have heard are much lower. It's 125,000 or 150,000. So either way, would definitely affect the county of DuPage for sure, but would affect every county over that population threshold.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Other
Sure.
questions from the committee?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Would that take away the rights then of the Supreme Court justice then to appoint subs when they resign? No, it's just the.
I don't think so. I think it would function just like Cook County, where they're appointed by their Supreme Court justice for a vacancy, and then they're forced to run in like a special election for re-election, depending upon where that term's set in terms of retention.
And who draws the sub-circuits?
General Assembly. They're drawing a lot of things lately. Might as well keep going.
Member Sullivan.
Thank you. Just to follow up, I think so we have a good sort of next steps on how we'll tackle this. Can we discuss the ISACO end? Because I think this would be something they'd be very interested in. What is sort of, could we get to them in 24 hours and ask them to
I
make a
can
slip?
call Joe, but his process is he has a 10-member board of directors. He has to take votes, so they're not going to be able to act.
Even if it only
quickly.
applies to one county though? You could maybe phrase it as it's something that will only apply to us and we're asking.
I don't think they'd take an official position to slip. I think they'd be neutral, but Chip and I can certainly talk to Joe McCoy.
I would perhaps explain that that's sort of a slippery slope thing, and if you care about county size and their sovereignty, you perhaps shouldn't start cutting DuPage County's rights. It's not very logical if they want to be a successful lobbying organization. That's my
Understood. I just would like to make just one point so we all understand, because this is an omnibus bill and is going to be filed as an amendment, there is not an opportunity for us to slip one portion of it, unfortunately, which someone would argue is by design from time to time, but that's me being cynical, I guess. So I just want everyone to understand, the positions everyone takes is not why I'm here, but if we do take a position, that would be more of a private position we would have to articulate to legislators. The actual slipping we would either be slipping completely for it or completely against it. It does not give us the opportunity to kind of piecemeal things through, unfortunately.
I mean, that's,
Well,
I mean,
sure,
we're for, it sounds like we're for.
One and three.
I mean, I'm for one of three.
Or no, 1 and 3, but maybe number 2. But like I said, until I see any of this, I'm not prepared to take a position on
Okay,
any
so
until I
here's
see the
the-
language.
Can I just ask Chip, this bill is just not those 3 items. I mean, it's
There's
the,
more.
it's the congressional maps, it's everything, right? There's.
I don't think the congressional maps will be in this. I know that these 3 items will be in that bill. I would not be surprised if there's more, but I don't believe this will be the congressional maps vehicle.
Okay, well, how would you like us to proceed? Cheryl has said that she could, pardon me?
You ask if there's felon voting.
Is there felon voting in the omnibus bill? Felon voting?
I don't know the answer.
I
It
would-
has been discussed, but I don't think it's decided yet.
Okay, thank you. Chip and Dave, thank you so much for being in this committee. I want to give everybody some time before our 2 o'clock special call, just for themselves, just to unwind for a minute. So how would you like us to proceed? Cheryl has said that all she has to do is get session or approval from the chairman and me to move forward any way the group would want to. So she's gonna get the language from Chip, email it out to all you. I check my email like once an hour, several times a day. I don't know how often you guys check your emails. So would you please get back to me via text or email and say, yes, I approve of this, or no, I don't approve of this. I mean, I would call all of you, but I don't want to call you 5 minutes after she sent the email and you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. That doesn't seem fair, so that I have to keep calling back and calling back and calling. Does that seem like a workable?
Can we have a little alert when the email comes in, because I don't check it every hour. So it just like if it comes in, just sends a
I
heads
can
up.
text all of you.
email.
I think the issue is gonna be, it's gonna be hard to say yes or no because you're gonna be split. You're gonna like half of it and not like other half. And we can't lobby half a bill. So you may end up being neutral just because I don't know how you do. We gotta either say yes or no.
That's right.
And they can't lobby in 10 minutes anyway. I
Right,
mean,
and then this is, it'll
It's
come
just
up Thursday,
difficult.
it's 2 days away.
Yeah,
One
There's
of
a reason they're doing it this way.
Right, we're not, yeah.
This is why they're doing it this way.
because we don't have time to fight it or support it, whatever you
This is the
want.
reason.
So,
Cheryl,
time is the option, but I also just wanted to say,
be included in this?
Yeah.
No, $5.
you know, and everybody has Dan Hebrard's phone number, so everybody can, you know, give him a call if that's
I
what you
can
like.
just send it to the whole board too, so
Okay.
they have it,
Yeah.
of course.
Perfect. So you can ask him your questions.
Can I send you
All
a
right.
funny emoji or something? No?
All right, anything else from the committee? I would like to give you some time to unwind before the 2 o'clock special call finance. Dave, Chip, thank you so much for coming on with us. We appreciate it. And maybe in 2 weeks,
Thank you.
gotta tell us everything that happened in the veto session.
Thanks for having us.
You're covered by then.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everybody.
During this meeting?
Bye-bye.
All right, we have a motion by Chaplin, a second by Selman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.